Hey, what's up, guys? So today we're going to talk about the hybrid version of the Eye of the Lotus. Um, the homie Griffon was cooking up in the Discord, and he said something really interesting. And I never noticed it, but they changed a lot of passives, like not just one or two, but they changed a bit of passives. So we're gonna go over like what made this build different. Now the homie Griffon, he was cooking. Like he's like a pit like 115. So he was cooking, right? Something. But I've been doing the affliction version of the build of Sever. But I wanted to try and spice some things up. So I switched the um the passive ultimate to pretty much the Rathma's Vigor. And then I took like 1 point, 1 or 2 points off of Sever, and I put that in Coalescence Blood because now that gives you multiplicative damage while healthy, like everything, right? So now we have 4 points of Coalescence Blood, which is giving us 24% multiplicative damage, on top of Finality, which is giving us 70% multiplicative damage after ultimates every time, with 4 ranks of Terror, so that's giving us about another 12% multiplicative damage and 7 ranks of Gloom. So the damage right now you're seeing right now, bro. Also, I added a point to my blood myths, giving every time it crits, after blood myths, you get a critical chance for a 15% multiplicative and crit chance. So I didn't even notice within the last like few. I wasn't paying attention to that. I wasn't paying attention to that. I seen it before, but it wasn't. I think they changed them. Not 100% sure. But last season I used the other one. I didn't use that blood mist, and a lot has changed. So with the Rathma's Vigor, pretty much we're just increasing. We're literally just increasing the amount of overpowered damage we're doing while maintaining the critical and vulnerable damage that we're currently doing. With that being said, because we have our witch powers right now, right? We have so much witch powers and we have our occult gems. We don't really need to deep dive fully into overpower at the moment. Right now, we're doing billions with critical damage right now per second. But if it overpowers, we're doing almost 100 billions of damage, okay? Um, Sometimes pretty much we're still struggling on like single target mobbing if we're out of ultimate and we're out of essence and stuff like that. However, in groups when we have multiple targets, our essence is 100% uptime. We don't really lose anything because our lucky hit chance. Now when we're in groups like mobbing with the amount of the monsters, pretty much we're using our runes right now. We're using Igni and Zan for bossing, mainly bossing, because you want to have that 7 second interval. Okay, the Zan rune, Igni. If we do Ahu and Zan, it's going to take a little bit more, but we're doing Ahu Om, so we can continuously do damage while having 15% multiplier as well. Also, you can do Ahu Quacks, or they're all interchangeable. But Ahu Quacks is really good. QAX Quacks because it does 100% more damage, which is really strong. The problem is it takes away your entire resources, and I don't like that for bossing. If you're fine with it, not it works for you, but for me, it just doesn't work for me. Okay. Um. Again, so for this version of the build, you want to get all the blood orbs after you get the groups. Okay. Also, the problem with this is it's really gear dependent. Like you cannot be going into this build of Sever with minor gear. Okay. The reason is because you want your Greaves of the Empty Tomb to have at least a 1 GA. Things is not important. It's not really important, but you want at least a 1 GA on a chance to double for Sever to do a double damage, so that way you can just double masterwork project to get 100% sever damage, right? Now, for your weapon, when you get that, you can change your weapon. You don't need sever double damage in your weapon anymore. You can do finality in your weapon or titanic. Either one of those works fine. Okay, I prefer finality because I love spamming ulti, and the more you spam ulti, you keep going. You're going to keep having that uptime. It's great for your bosses at the pit. It's just really good. Helps with clear time. Helps with every average damage overall. Sometimes I'm not always maintaining my health, which is why I don't use a Titanic. Okay, I'm not 100%. I'm not the best player, and it's just for me. Okay. Now for occult gems is the big one. The occult gems that I use is the primary resource and the maximum health. I use the 15% multiplicative overpower, right? And I use this when hexes on auras give you like 2.5% multiplicative damage for each hex / aura that you have. And those are the three that I'm using. Okay. Reason is because we just need more multipliers on our build, and with the more multipliers, the more damage we're gonna get. Like, as you see, we're literally just zooming through the pit. We're flying through the pit. Even though we died one time to a random explosion, we're literally zooming through the pit. And a lot of this is due to the simple fact that we are really geared. We geared up early. We're only around 230 something. So we geared very early, and because we geared very early, we got everything out the way. And now we're just focusing on Paragon levels now and pretty much Glyph EXP. Okay, now back to gearing. Your necklace is going to be very important. To me, you always want a max int GA necklace, and then you have the opportunity to switch to max int with Gloom. I do Gloom, and I have a double GA, so I have a max int and max life because I need a little bit of life. I want at least 12k to 15k HP at all times. I just need to be comfortable. That's my comfort zone. Okay, everybody has a different one, but mine is around there, right? And then I have Gloom. But if you can sacrifice that max HP, if you don't want it, and you can switch that to either amplify damage. You can switch it to Terror if you're doing a build where you're using frozen targets like me. I utilize frozen, the status frozen, so I can get an additional multiplicative damage on top of everything that I'm having. But more not many people use frozen. I use frozen as additional crowd control effect. It helps with damage, and I love it. Okay. Now, as for your rings, I prefer to have a int attack speed ring. Depending on whatever you want, that depends on you though. And attack speed is my preference, and then the last stat, it could be critical damage, it could be overpower damage, it could be whatever you want. It could be even resistances, depending on how you're playing the game, right? The helm that I'm using, the Ire Perdition chest, Shot of False Death. I'm using a 2-star GA glove, but it's a GA on max life and critical damage specifically for this build because a lot of my damage is critical and or vulnerable damage. Right? My leg is a max int legs. So we need more max int, and we need health. Okay. Again, another other ring is Ring of Starless Skies. So with this build, we pretty much are at an even 2,000-ish critical damage, right? But we have 5,000 overpower damage and about 800, 700 vulnerable damage, which I think I showed it in the video very soon. And we're talking heavily about why would you do that. Now, the aspects that I'm using on my gear, I'm going to talk about it and tell you specifically why I'm using this. For my gloves, pretty much I'm using the Greater Feast, because I like the consistent damage. Even though Grasping Veins is, great, I like to have my damage 100% of the time, not every few seconds. All right. Now, with my necklace, I switched out my necklace from the Damned, right, to sacrificial, because the sacrifice is just, just a little bit more bonuses on everything that you're doing, a little bit more a little bit more critical damage bonuses, a little bit of just everything, just bonuses everywhere. Okay, so I'd rather that. And then the damned is now on my ring. So my sacrifice is pretty much, I have sacrificial, so I'm not like what, 79% sacrifice or 74% sacrifice increase. And then and my ring went from like about a 80% to now since it's back to the ring, the damned, it's now 50%, 51%. Not that much difference, but the numbers add up. Okay. And everything else is pretty, pretty much spoken for itself. The build again, I really do enjoy Sever. Sever's my favorite build. It's going well. I pretty much your glyphs right here you can switch out. Again, for this build, I'm using Essence. I'm using Vulnerable, so pretty much Exploit and Essence. We're gonna be using that. I'm not putting points into Dominators at the moment. I will see it at pit 105, 110, 110 to see how it is, but at the moment, I'm not putting points into that. This is just a deep gear showing and stats showing, so you can see where my stats are at and what my stats look like right now. Again, I'm comfortable at the 3000 intellect level, and we're just going quickly through everything. And I show all my witch powers right there. Soul Harvest is doing wonders. Then we got the siphoning, and then we got the aura specialization for more critical damage. And we got that force of will for more overpowered damage. So pretty much we're benefiting for both. We're power NATO. Alright. And then I go over my amulet again. So I'm showing you what my data for my amulet, and I'm showing you my attack speed ring. That's how I'm getting my attack speed to about a 70%. Speaking of attack speed, you're gonna want at least 70 to 85%. 70% comfortability to 85%, 85% mass cap, so you can just use a potion. Again, for the pretty much the skills, I show you pretty much I'm using Blight, Sever. You can switch between. I just use the vulnerable Sever. You need to always be vulnerable with this build. Okay, pretty much you see my blood mist is where it is. Then you see coalescence blood. This is an important one. You need 4 ranks of that so you can get that healthy multiplier. That is who's carrying the build. We got gloom multiplier right here. So gloom, coalescence blood, terror when mobs are frozen, reaper's pursuit, which you can't get on an amulet, and finality, which you got on your weapon. And instead of affliction, we got the Rathma's vigor. That's how we're doing a lot of the clearing. Okay, then for paragons, we have control. You can switch to whatever you want. First board, I did so as leveling frailty. And then right there, we got sacrificial with the frailty because we got the attack speed to the left of that. Then right there, we got amplify on a bloodbath, so we can get more overpower and then get more max life right there. And then you just go straight down while leveling. Then on the wither node, we got pretty much a max life right there, just easy. And then we got pretty much essence right there, critical damage. We want that critical damage, okay? Critical damage. This is a hybrid build. It's not pure overpower. Most half of your damage, well, at least 70% of your damage is going to be critical damage and slash vulnerable, okay? And you get added shadow damage if you're a higher paragon than me. I'm only 234. Blood begets blood. That's how you get the blood orbs. That's how you get all your damage multipliers right there, especially with the Rathma's vigor. And then pretty much, showing you how I got the health right there, and pretty much just showing you the exploit right there. And yeah, that's it. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for watching. I'm really went into the details for this one. I had to really deep dive into telling you how I do everything. Some people are not going to tell you this. Shout out Greif. Shout out Arius. Shout out the Discord for Sever Brothers. Love y'all guys. Take care, bro.